We're really hoping. Well, you got that's what you get by having a bipartisan, and you guys don't. The idea of a vote in the United States is you guys essentially pick a dictator every 4 years.
I
And the
mean,
laws that just recently passed that give a president full immunity from any fucking legal action just solidifies that. You guys pick a dictator, and then every 4 years,
hey,
two more people stand up and decide they want to be your dictator for 4 years.
hey. In this channel, we don't use that word. We say potato penis.
Okay, so you guys pick a new potato penis every 4 years.
Yeah, that.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Saturday Evenings Posted Mostly presents General Chaos, Episode 11. We are here with Kat, the associate producer extraordinaire, and I am Trevor Stewart, 1308, your host. Welcome in, friends.
Hello.
And we are gonna discuss some political stuff today for Gits and Shiggles.
Yeah.
You know, elections are big this week and gonna be big for a while, so we're gonna touch on what's going on in the election that just happened, and the debate the debate debacle a little probably, and a
Yeah.
few various other things, such as the laws that have recently been passed and gone into effect around the country. But first, today, we are going to, we're going to start with today's pre-rolls are brought to you by The Hidden Leaf, Charlottesville, Virginia, 105 West Main Street, downtown, above the bricks between 10,000 Villages and Hamilton's. Suite 200. Where the only thing better than their bud is their customer service. Smooth. All right. I do feel it is important. We've stopped doing that sort of introductory ramble that I did, where I pointed out that we're not journalists.
Right.
We're just people having fun,
Right.
and all of the opinions that are expressed in this video are opinions, but they are correct.
And 100% verifiable as opinions.
Yep. So I put the call out on the Discord, let people know that this is General Chaos. So I do expect Lockpick to show up at some point and cause chaos.
Well, that's allowed.
It's Lockpick.
Yeah. He's the Canadian contingent. He can tell us if they pass new laws and have them go into effect like on the first of the year, in the middle of the year, like we do, or whatever.
Oh, that would be interesting to find out.
Yeah.
Of course, he also could be not awake at the moment, or he could be on the road.
Also a possibility.
Yeah. So about the elections. Well, let's start off with the elections overseas. Let's start off with the British election where the Labour Party had a resounding win.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it really isn't about the personalities running, it's about the party platforms. Or at least that seems to be what they're saying. So, which is probably a good thing because the Labour Party platform is probably very good. But it sounded to me like Keir Starmer might have some issues as a personality.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, okay, so I've asked my British friends, a couple of my British friends, about their opinions. And Who's That Girl, of course, weighs in, you know, very heavily on the side of Labour. She's very, very happy to see the Tories get kicked out. She said something brilliant earlier, and I want to quote her on that, but I'm having a hard time remembering what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's, you know, she's pretty progressive, and she voted that way. But another friend of mine pointed out that Keir Starmer's race was very, you know, negative, very blame oriented. And my other friend is worried that it's going to be a blame oriented administration. You know, and I would worry about that too. Although I can see how the campaign could be very much like, see what the Tories did in the last 14 years? See how they screwed us?
Yeah.
I am not them. You know, it's sort of like, it really doesn't matter. If Biden were to step down, it really wouldn't matter who runs. They're not Trump. They're not Trump. They're not Biden. You know, that's just a win politically either direction for them. I don't know what to think of Keir Starmer yet. I texted you the manifestos for both sides.
Yes, and I'm reading over them because I'm slow.
I feel like
I'm going to note that the man's name is Keir.
Yeah, Starmer. Keir Starmer. Pronounced Keir Starmer.
To my ears, listening to you say it, it sounded like one word.
Sounded like what?
One word. So you.
Keir Starmer. Sounds like one long word.
Yeah.
Yep. And it also doesn't sound like it has any R's in it.
I mean, not that we can say a whole heck of a lot. Have you seen how they spell Stanton?
Yes. I mean, of course I have. No. Do you have an aunt or an aunt? Do you burn ants or... What do you burn with a magnifying glass? Nothing.
Paper.
I'm not a sociopath.
Paper. I burn paper. And I've discovered, as a side note, that you can actually sort of kind of pop a kernel of popcorn with a magnifying glass. But you need to have it coated in oil.
Okay. That tracks.
The things that you discover when you leave Kathy... When you leave me unattended on a playground with a magnifying glass, a bunch of kids, and some popcorn.
I a friend of mine a friend of mine taught me how to take sun hits. Uh, a sun hit is when you use a magnifying glass to light the bowl, and it is what it really it's a really clean hit, but it's also really intense because the heat, once it gets hot quick and it sort of vaporizes everything. So it's a
Mm,
mix between smoking and vaping, and it's really clean.
well, it's hot enough and clear enough that you'll be able to do that for the rest of the week. It looks like
I'm good on that.
because it requires being outside.
Well, other than that, it also is a lot of work to smoke weed.
Yeah,
And,
that's fair.
you know, I've been doing this for so long that I'm not interested in putting extra work into doing it. At this point,
Understand.
I'm ready to just do the easiest thing. What's the easiest way for me to do this?
I will say this for the Brits, their their documents, their manifestos for how they're putting things out, what they're how they're presenting what their goals are, what their plans are actually very appealingly presented
Yes. It also
from a
looked
design aspect.
it also looked relatively easily accessible. It didn't look like it was a hard read.
Yeah. I
It
mean, it's a how many pages is that particular document? I mean, if you actually click on the document itself,
I have no idea.
it's a bunch of pages.
Yeah. It's big, but it didn't the language didn't seem that dense.
Exactly. All right, so it looks like it's 103, 4, 5. Technically, it's like 136, 37 pages long,
Okay.
the whole document. But it's presented with colors. It's presented with large font, so you can read this. It's not all that kind of cramped, tightly packed font that
Right.
unfortunately Americans are very fond of using when they're trying to present ideas. Like we're trying to get it all out on the same piece of paper right now because if we have to take 2 pages, we're going to lose your interest.
Right. And also, it looks like we know more the more densely we pack it and the more inaccessible we make the language.
Mm-hmm. Um, and I'm going over kind of hit or miss, but it does look like they've used, like you said, accessible language to outline what the goals are, what their plans are. They have a 5 step plan.
I will say, in the brief skimming of the Labor Party manifesto that I did, it looked good. It looks like fine ideals, you know? Fine
I mean,
ideals, though, do not make for effective governance.
well, no, but I'd rather have the fine ideals and flubber around than go with
Right,
we're just going to be total crooks and forget about the rest.
right. Like, yeah, I'd rather have the fine ideals and ineptitude
Right.
than bad people who are effective at being bad.
Because with an aptitude, there is room to get better.
Right?
There's room to improve and reach for those fine ideals. With crooks,
I used to
I,
be inept at teaching or at convincing people that I was relatively normal.
mm-hmm.
I've gotten better than that. I wouldn't say I'm good at it, but I've gotten better.
Mm-hmm. That's all I'm going to say on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, I like how they put this together to tell what they're doing.
Yes.
It is at the same time more concise, but also more comprehensive than anything we see out of our own candidate.
Yes.
All
I
right.
will say that my other British friend. Oh, ads are snoozed for 5 minutes. My other British friend felt that feels that there is a crime problem, that gangs and scooter thefts and things of that nature are a problem. To which, of course, I pointed out that law and order is hardly ever the way to solve that problem. Well, I didn't say it like that. What I said is, law and order seems like a reasonable response, but it only maintains the status quo. It does not fix the inequalities.
Yeah.
And
Ooh, interesting. I'm listening to you, but I'm also looking over the conservative version of the same document,
and
and stylistically, it is 80 pages, so it's
it's
not quite half as long.
interesting.
And it is written and stylized more like an American document. There are British flags every couple of pages. Well, not every couple of pages, but it looks like an American put this together and tried to put a British spin on it. You've got the very prominent red, white, and blue colors every title page for the next section. When they want to put an image in, instead of pictures of people doing things, they just have a rippling British flag, and it doesn't have the same. The language may be as accessible, but it's got the tightly packed, cramped, smaller font that the other one's missing. So technically, they could have the same amount of information, but because they chose the font and the style in which they presented it, it looks like a shorter document, which on one hand would appear easier to read, but on the other hand,
It's not.
you know, no, especially if you're someone that's looking at this on your phone. You're looking at this on your phone, you want the other one because the other one you can read without having to do mental gymnastics.
Okay.
And this one, it it, it reads like an American put it together, honestly, just the style wise. It's what I would
Interesting.
expect to see.
That is an interesting interesting juxtaposition there. I mean, I haven't really thought about the difference between I've thought a little bit about the difference between certain national, stylistic choices, and specifically on the internet. Actually,
I'll be honest.
I
If I hadn't been hunting up news stories reading for about a year now,
you wouldn't have noticed.
I wouldn't have noticed. But
I think we're a little
pulling
over
news
a
stories
year.
from but actively pulling news
Actively.
stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't start back up with more serious preventative scripts until right after I started last year. So
That's true. That's true.
But still,
Uh,
even translated in English, so that you can understand it. There's kind of different ways things are changed on the page from, a German news reporting agency to a British one to an Irish one to ours.
Interesting. I mean, I'm I'm sort of peripherally aware of it, that it exists, but I've never really noticed it. I haven't paid a whole lot of attention.
Yeah.
I did, a while back I watched a video about how American websites and Japanese websites look very different.
Mm-hmm.
But past
I'm not
that,
snoozing this one. We'll just let it go.
past that, I hadn't been paying a whole lot of attention.
Yeah.
I think it's I think it's interesting that you picked up this skill on the way. You know, like it's interesting to me that you yeah, that this is an emergent skill that you're gaining. Is it
I mean,
will it help you with your layout choices for cuz you do a lot of work for other games that you're playing, that you're involved with. You do a lot of graphic design work for them. Will it change? Does it change how you do that graphic design work?
right now, no. But it's something to keep in mind if I'm supposed to be doing something from,
Somewhere else.
yeah.
And
I mean, I've got one series of things you noted, you've noted in passing that you hooked me into this because of the notes that I took for game. And
right.
there's one series of notes. It wasn't a game that you were part of, but there's one series of notes that are written from. Um, they've got the same style as you would expect to find in the old um, Batman radio.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Tune in next time. Same danger channel
Right.
type
The
of
old
reporting.
old radio serials.
Yeah, it was written. It was
I
so
love
the
that.
notes were written in that kind of style.
That's more of a Star Wars thing.
I mean, it could be.
No, that
It
was
could be.
that was the plan. That was what the scroll was supposed to remind you of in the beginning. Also, when they did the cartoon, when they did the
Mm-hmm.
Clone Wars cartoon, they did that specifically in the Clone Wars cartoon, like the newsreel open kind of thing. We're gonna go into ad shortly,
Yes.
so we will be back momentarily
Yes.
after these messages.
We'll be right back.
Uh, yeah, right. Oh, right. Like,
One day I will actually get around to watching Clone Wars.
it's really good. It's
I've heard.
really, really good. It is acceptable for kids, but it is not necessarily a kids show.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a lot of the conflicts in it mirror stuff that was going on in the 80s and 90s.
Mm.
Global conflicts going on in the 80s and 90s. So it's very smart. Yeah, it's really good. Although I wasn't wild about how they portrayed spider creatures,
Mm.
but that's
Okay.
that's just me. I'm a spider and owl kind of guy, and so even Forgotten Realms irritates me with its spiders and drow connection, you know? It's like, really? We gotta do this? You're doing this to me? You're doing this to me. You know?
You would have an interesting conversation about spiders with my little brother.
Also, yeah, I probably would. Also, I'm a little bugged by Tolkien and Shelob's
Mm.
children. It's like, come on, really? Really?
Mm.
We gotta fear the
It would,
giant spiders?
it
Alright.
would make it would make more sense if he was actually from Australia.
Right. We're back. Um, what were we gonna cover before we went into break?
Um, I think that we were very slowly getting back on the topic of the Labor Party versus the Conservatives after we had wandered off on the tangent of noticing differences in layout styles.
Oh, that's right, layout styles. That's right. We had been talking about layout styles. But yes, getting back to the Labor Party win and the wet Rishi Sunak being out. You know, I just I don't know what to expect from the new government. Um, and I am gonna pay attention to the news over the next few days to see what direction the parliament is going, because
Yeah.
that's going to have a bit of an effect on how things go. Like, does Labor have uh, enough of a lead in parliament? You know, enough seats in parliament that they can just get stuff done, or is this going to have to be? Is there going to have to be some coalition building going on?
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'm kind of eager to hear about that. Um, I so we had a power outage here the other night, July 4th,
Mm.
I believe. Was it? Yeah, and my I have a radio on NPR in the background all the time. I just turn it all the way down for when we're on stream. But because the power went out, the radio turned off, and I haven't turned it back on yet, which means that it's been peaceful, but I've been missing news.
Mm.
So, you know, tomorrow could be your day to really win. Um,
It could be, but I have had a couple of days off and I have spent most of them sleeping and recharging for when the gremlins come back next week.
fair enough. Fair enough. Also, if it's Eclipse show tomorrow, because I have a feeling we're going to get another clip show coming up soon.
Well, I mean, it would make sense if, because they usually do it like on Thursday.
Friday, I think it's a Friday night. I think they tape on Friday night and release it
Yeah, I
on
mean,
Saturday morning.
you
It
you've got
might
a
be
major.
Thursday night though.
Either way, you've got a major holiday that just happened that
Right,
they're going to be like, no, we're all of our people that we want to haul in. They're doing things.
right. I have a feeling that it will be a clip show. Uh, yeah. Man, I'm a little out of it today. I'm kind of Biden.
Yeah, but I can understand your words.
Yeah. All right. So, let's talk about that now. So, there has been calls for Biden to pull out of the election. Election.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we talk about pulling out from here. I'm PG-13. Get your minds out of the gutter. So, now the Disney princess though
Mm-hmm.
has threatened to pull funding if he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
drop out. Oh gosh, blanking on her name at the moment.
That's okay. We don't need to say her name. We know who she is.
The heiress to the Disney fortune, who is a major contributor to the Democratic Party. And by major, I mean major. I mean major.
Mm.
You know, she said that if he doesn't drop out of the race, then she's pulling all of her funding.
Which is hilarious, considering the like 18 ads that I've seen between this time yesterday and now,
Oh yeah.
begging people, so and so, he's going to have billionaires donating to his campaign, and Joe and Kamala need your $5 now.
I've seen a lot of Joe Biden and Barack Obama have been asking me for money a lot recently.
Yeah, no.
Thing is,
If Barack and Biden had decided that when the world was shutting down to give everybody a much larger lump sum instead of handing it out to all of the corporations like Walmart, we could talk now. We
right.
ain't talking.
I mean, of course Biden's going to get my vote if he doesn't drop out. I'm not going to
That's the
hide
vote.
that.
That's not the money.
Right. That's the vote. That's not the money. That's also not the confidence.
No.
He's not getting. I'm not. He's not getting my mandate. He's just getting my vote. Like, literally voting against Trump.
Yes.
Anybody else would do.
Yes.
Anybody. I mean, anybody. And somebody pointed out to me recently, yesterday, that. Oh, I remember where I was. So I. I'm gonna blow my own spot up here. There's a YouTube show that I watch called Some More News, and they're really good. They're some of some of the humor on the periphery of the show isn't the same kind of humor we do. And also they do lean into one subject at a time, whereas we tend to spread out. But yeah, they're really good. They're better at it than I am. They also have a lot more, funding than we do. But
I mean,
on their podcast, Even More News, they were talking about how if Kamala Harris gets the nod, if Joe drops out and Harris gets the nod, she's pretty much a cop. Like, she is a cop. She is law and order. She is. And that's the thing that bugs me about both Biden and Harris, is that they are very law and order, and not in a good, like, help me kind of way, but in a very, like, a decade ago they'd have both put me in cuffs and thrown me in jail kind of way.
Yeah.
So I don't particularly like them, but she is a cop. She's the cop. And Trump is now a convicted felon. So it will literally be cops and robbers. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, and when they pointed this out, I realized that I really am voting Law and Order.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not. My guts aren't okay with that. That is not who I am. I do not like Law and Order. No, thank you. No, sir, no, ma'am, no turkey, no ham.
Pretty much.
But also, though,
We'd rather the ham than the Cheeto in charge at the moment.
well, that too. Also, though, I do believe in justice. I do believe that, you know, I do believe that people should get what they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Bad people should get bad things, and good people should get good things. And, you know, that line between good and bad, like, that doesn't have to be a very high bar, you know?
Mm-mm.
But Trump is definitely below that bar.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't, you know, it really makes me uncomfortable supporting the Law and Order party. Like, this is just not fun for me.
Regardless of who wins, if Trump is allowed to participate all the way up until election night and he's not yanked for having federal convictions, the parties for law and order, the parties for everything else, and the equal opportunity people need to look at that, and they need to go wail on everything, employment opportunity, housing, everything, and remove any requirements that bar you because of because of felony convictions. Because if he's allowed to participate that far for that kind of a job,
Everybody.
should be allowed.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Is that a smart thing to do? Not necessarily, but
Actually, I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm sorry. I really don't think it's a
I
bad
didn't say
thing.
good or bad. I said smart.
No, I think it is a smart thing. I do. I think removing that is a smart thing to do because it's the beginning of the reforming the system into being a system of rehabilitation instead of punishment. And
Yeah.
honestly, I really don't think we can exactly reform the system. But if we
No.
could reform the system, that would be a good way to start. I really think we need to scrap the system and try again. Because the system we currently have is not.
Not great.
No. It punishes people for being poor and black, and it rewards people for being rich and not black.
Yeah.
Specifically, rich and white. It
Yeah.
punishes women, and it rewards men.
Mm-hmm.
It punishes minorities, and it rewards the minority that calls themselves non-minorities.
Yeah. Oh, very much so.
It targets marginalized and reinforces the status quo.
And I can agree with all of that needs to change. And that's despite the part of me that has to deal with hiring and firing and the regulations that I have to observe because we deal with children.
Yes. There are, of course, certain boundaries. I make these very blanket statements, but yes, of course. You know, certain people just should not be allowed to work with children. You know, anybody who has ever shown any even slight predilection to mistreating children shouldn't be
Mhm.
allowed to work with children.
Pretty much. We have to know if they've got
I mean,
anything to do with kids, if they've got any charges, either convicted or pending, to deal with kids, drugs, gangs, or gangs of kids with drugs.
I I get that. I get that.
So
I mean, I feel like that's, I don't know. Like gangs, it's a little, I feel like cuz if people are not in the gang, if they're trying to be out of the gang and build, and build something better than having been in the gang.
mhm.
I feel like when you throw gangs in there, people go, well, once in a gang, always in a gang, can't reform. And that puts a barrier to exit from
It does.
gangs. You know, and now that's a very that's a broad
Yeah.
statement for me to make, and I do believe that every situation is different.
Yeah.
And
I can see where you would have that working with small children. And if you're just going with a blanket statement of looking at things and um, causality,
right,
I can see including that as a thing for if you're going to work with small children, you can't have been involved with these things.
right,
But you can extend that and go, but I can see you're trying to get free, so you're not working with small children. This doesn't apply.
right,
You're looking for a house. This doesn't apply.
right, uh,
You know?
right,
I mean, I can totally see. Oh, you've got this on your record for being a computer hacker and hacking into these records and stealing this kind of money and doing that kind of stuff and being told, okay, you're not allowed to work for a tech company or a bank. The bank should not trust you with their access codes.
right. I
But
so here's where I think that the line, here's an interesting line that I see that I think should be drawn. I think that that person should be able to get federal employment in those areas
right,
with oversight.
right.
And I think it is the right of private banks, private companies to go, we don't trust you. Now, that being said, I also believe that every good and service
Mm-hmm.
available from the private sector by private corporations that should have a matching good and service provided by the government so that people have the option. You know, it's a
So
very socialist idea. So
so
it's
there's an option, and they don't have a monopoly,
right.
and you don't end up with things like you know what was that book that you were reading the other day where it was what 50,000 a month for um, parole
Oh yeah,
costs and things.
right. Uh, Sickening by Anne Pollock. Yeah,
Yes.
even more on a even on a more basic level.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
yes, basic level, but they were talking about the healthcare and
right,
how much it would cost for her to do the one thing.
right. You know,
And then on top of having to pay for their parole.
right.
So yeah, having options, so you can be like, this is the government funded. You
And
got an option for healthcare.
and that government option, you know, whether it be government option food or government option healthcare or government option, you know, transport,
Mm-hmm.
that should be open. That set of work should be open to everybody. Like, no one should be excluded from that. That and truly having the backup of, well, if I can't get a job in my chosen field in the private sector, I can get a job in my chosen field in the government sector.
It'd definitely be something to aim for.
Um, you know,
You know,
it's a very idealized thing.
which
But
brings us back to the Labor Party and the really nice sounding ideals, and we just have to deal with the ineptitude to get us there.
right, like, yeah, all the fine ideals in the world won't won't get us there. As Trump so loudly said, the quiet part, you got to get elected.
Mm, yeah.
Jesus Christ. That man,
Yeah.
that creature.
Yeah, that.
Oh, I'm only laughing because I'm so scared.
Mm,
We're in ad break.
yeah.
All right. So when we come back from ads, we'll go uh, into the laws going in effect, into the articles in the chat.
Yeah. Um, you've got, like I said, the top article has got the more easily understood ones, and if you want to go to the very last one I posted, it's specifically about the fun tags, which I'm particularly interested to see actually happen this year.
Okay. All right. Got that pulled up. I'm not actually looking at these.
That's okay. You don't have. That's it's.
We'll look at them when we.
Yeah. My brother called me the other night to tell me to get me to settle yet another argument between him and his wife, because this is their style every so often is they call me to settle arguments, and to inform me that the older lady at work with him is upset with him because instead of chasing the spiders outside or doing other things, he's been reaching down and petting them as he goes.
Spiders are some of the best friends you can have. Like, if
Yes.
the
Yeah.
spiders like you, you're pretty set.
Well,
They.
he's busy running around his warehouse in California, randomly petting wolf spiders and encouraging the following. And the little lady that nominally runs things is kind of freaked out by this because she's always been taught you don't touch the spiders. And he's just merrily wandering along, petting them.
Dude, like, spiders don't want to attack humans. We're way bigger than them, and they know they can't really take us down and make a meal out of us. Like,
No.
the only interest spiders have in attacking humans is in self defense. So, if we give off chill vibes to the spiders, they're like, okay, whatever. Like,
I know that. And I chase the spiders outside the school regularly because, little kids that don't know better, and I'm not able to see every single finger at every single moment, and they'll do something and they'll get bit. And we'll have
Right.
someone crying, and we'll have a squished spider, and we'll have someone else crying. So it's
And
just
bad
safer for the spider
luck.
to go outside.
Right. Killing a spider is very bad luck.
So, yeah. So
Plus,
he's
when you
busy.
kill a spider, you piss off 3 gods at once. Just think about that for a
Which
second.
ones?
Athena, Anansi, and Iktomi.
Okay.
And Anansi and Iktomi and Athena are not gods you want pissed off at you.
No.
Hi, Lockpick. You have showed up. But you are not in the but you're not in the chat. You're not in the voice chat.
You're allowed in the voice chat if you want, Lockpick.
I heard there was chaos going on. Yes, general chaos there is. There is chaos going on. Oh.
Okay,
Bit of news for you, Lockpick. When you get here, I'll tell you.
See, and I was getting ready to type out the creepy "come play with us" message. But he's coming, so I don't have to do that.
Lockpick can come play with me anytime.
I know. Lockpick has his moments, but he does not nearly so much give me the nope factor as a group of 4-year-old girls singing "Let It Go" and then stopping in the middle of the song to invite others to go, come sing with us, and every teacher on the playground looking at it going, no, and heading to the far side away from them.
Oh, that sounds great. They did that to you guys?
Yes.
Oh, I love this group of children. They are my heroes.
They didn't know what they were doing.
That makes it even better. That makes it
exactly
even better.
Yes. I was like, there's a lot of nope moments when dealing with kids under the age of 7. There's nope moments older, but I have spent 20 years dealing with 16 months to 7-year-olds on a daily basis.
I'm gonna put on my streaming glasses so that I can see the.
Yeah.
So that I can see the screen and the chat and the camera and everything.
Yeah.
I think I hear a lockpick.
You do.
Ooh boy. So, lockpick.
Oh, I got sound coming from 9 different. Hold on, let me sort this out. There we go. Stream. I can hear both of you through Discord, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, you can hear us?
No offense, but I can't handle 2 of you, man.
No offense taken, actually. I'm kind of good with that. One of me is enough, eh?
More than enough.
More than a mouthful? Okay, so... Back on track. How are the elections up there going?
Elections? We have no elections.
Oh.
Well, we got one coming up, but we're not like the Americans. We don't beat our election cycle to death for like 2 years beforehand.
Yeah.
we're barely seeing campaigning at this point. Like you see the odd speech where they're hinting at something here and there, but yeah,
Okay.
there's limits on campaigning in our country.
That sounds nice.
It is. You guys live in a perpetual news cycle of nothing but elections. I mean, a week afterwards, you've already got whoever lost complaining that he's going to run again and starts campaigning that day. It's like, holy shit, man. Let this guy do his job for 4 years and then start crying about it. What the hell?
Right?
Sometimes it's not even a week. They do it like 2 hours later.
Right
There
before they're trying to hand over power.
there are laws on the books about how long before and after an election you're allowed to have lawn signs out.
Yep.
And they just
They ignore it. They're on the books, but those are laws that are ignored.
I see that now, and it's beginning to bother me that they are so ignored.
Yeah, absolutely ignored. One of the things I enjoy, I shouldn't say enjoy, but anytime I've been down in the States, especially, first off, there's two things. Number one, all those jokes you see in The Simpsons with all the car dealerships with all the red, white, and blue all over the goddamn place. I thought that was a joke until I crossed the border in Washington. That fucking opened my eyes like you wouldn't believe. But the other was, no matter what time of year, what time of day, what time of whatever, there's always somebody out there campaigning for their guy. It's like, holy cow.
Yep.
Yep. That is how it is now. The only things that are year-round in Virginia are deer and politics.
Mm-hmm.
Every season's deer season here.
And even then, at least the deer take a nap at night.
No, they don't.
No, they take naps in the daytime.
And I don't mean that every season, is deer hunting season. I mean, like, they're always crossing the road. I was driving home the other night, and I suddenly came upon an emergency crash scene, and all I saw were emergency trucks and cop cars and stuff. I didn't see a vehicle that had crashed. And as I slowed way down and was ushered through, I saw a shoe in the middle of the road and then a long blood streak. And before I actually looked at what was at the end of the blood streak, I was like, do I really want to look at this? Am I
Yes, you do.
about to see something awful?
Yes.
And I looked, and it was a deer. And I had several thoughts slam into me at once. Was this deer wearing sneakers?
Maybe that's just the laws of physics. That's actually how leather shoes are made.
Like,
you hit a deer hard enough and a leather shoe just pops out of the entangled mess.
Please don't tell Nike that.
Oh, gosh.
Nike does not need that.
I might get a job in one of their factories, though, if they're willing to try.
Although I would explain Puma.
But dear Nike, I'm a professional driver. Please sponsor me. Let me come to your factory.
I'll bring my own cattle pusher. It sounds...
Have experience with such things.
It
I
seems
would
like...
explain the cow catchers on the trains.
They don't actually work.
I know they don't actually work.
They really don't work. If you hit a cow full on, like if there's a bunch of cows on the tracks and the train plows through them at full speed, it might push a couple through, but there's a really good chance it's going to skip the rail.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cows are big. They're really
there's a lot of very hard parts inside a cow. Like their skeleton structure's got a lot of very hard pieces, and it just takes the wrong one of them to get underneath and get between the wheels and the tracks. And it's rare, but cattle have derailed trains before.
Yep. It is. I mean, I'm with all of these stomachs and hard bones. I'm really surprised there's any room on a cow for meat.
I'm thankful there is, though.
I am
Yes.
too. It's delicious. The cows
Well,
might.
I mean,
Best
you got the
invention we ever
bones.
made.
You gotta move the bones.
What?
So they've got the hard bones. They have to be able to move the hard bones in order to fill up the stomachs. So,
I have that problem too.
yes.
I'm gonna think better of whatever I was about to say.
Just counting back from 5 in my head.
I was about to say something that was gonna get my PG-13 yanked. Lockpick
we
can
gotta
yank my
keep
PG-13
PG-13
anytime he wants.
Yeah.
You don't have
thought
to.
I thought me joining your stream just ended the PG-13
Oh, no.
qualifications right then and there.
You guys don't have to stay PG-13. I'm trying to
perfect.
myself. See, that's
Perfect.
the real challenge is can I stay PG-13 in the face of such peer pressure? Lockpick can pressure my peer any day. Oh gosh, I'm gonna be.
Yeah, I need another shot.
Yeah, you do.
Well, while you're doing
Hi,
that,
Brock.
I have a legitimate question for you.
Hi, Darth Draconis. Hi, Brock. Love you. Good to see you here. Cheese is just a loaf of milk. Just remember. Okay,
Yes.
legitimate question time.
For lockpick.
Oh, God, here we go.
All right. When laws are updated and stuff where you are in your specific province, are they updated like at the beginning of the year? Do they come out like halfway through the year? How does that happen?
Wait, which? Your mic cut out on me. What was that?
When laws are updated for you, when the laws in Canada are updated, when do they go in effect? Do they happen?
Depends on the law. That's law by law. There's no like set time where all laws passed this year have to fucking be initialized today or anything like that. Like they set it up as they're planning, and part of their plan for that law will be like when it becomes active or a phasing in process or anything like that.
So
guess
it's a rolling block.
The best modern example would be when we legalized weed. Like they came out with a game plan where they're like, we're going to build the infrastructure. We're going to have some sort of a government plan to grow and sell weed, and then we're going to help people who want to be commercial growers and sell it. So there is a supply chain, and then we're going to legalize it on such and such a date. And they even said when it's legalized, we're still going to allow people to sell it to their neighbors and shit. So if you're growing plants, you can sell it to your neighbors, because we're not going to be able to supply everybody because the government knows that we're all a bunch of fucking potheads. But all those dates were decided upon by their timeline, as opposed to like any given date where it has to be in this quarter, or it has to be during this part of the election cycle, or it has to be this part of the year, or it was completely arbitrary for the law.
Wow, that sounds way more useful than our system.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's I understand why we do it. Like, okay, laws are passed, and it will be instated. All the laws that are passed in the year will be instated on this day. And it's July 1st, is it? In your research, Kat, what did you come up with?
There's a very, very little bit where there's some laws that go into effect, like the start of the year, like with our when they changed the state minimum wage.
Okay.
That went into effect with the start of the year. But for the most part, at least in Virginia and a couple of other states, there's some things that may come in and start other times, but the bulk of things have the official start date of July 1st of whatever year,
So,
which is entertaining for looking at some of the things they're doing in Virginia this year.
And don't you guys like vote on individual laws too? Like when you guys go to vote, don't you have like a big sheet where you can pick yes or no on like multiple different things?
Depends on the year, but yes. So
uh,
these are things that were voted in. Some of these are things that were voted in last November that are just now taking effect. Some of these are things that got passed in the assembly and we didn't get a chance to vote on it.
those are called ballot initiatives generally, if it is something that the populace gets to vote yes or no on. And those are actually relatively rare.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I wish we even had an option for.
It's nice to have the option for, because that is that's what got weed legalized originally in California and Colorado, was ballot initiatives. But it's there's also room for misuse.
Yeah.
Proposition such and such is often whatever they're called, propositions generally. It's a such and such proposition, generally a number. And the quite often they are written in a very confusing way to make it difficult to know what you're voting for or against.
Mm-hmm.
The language can be very oblique, very obtuse, very opaque.
So they're like, this is a vote against the option to reject the anti-position towards the rejection of non-committing to this opposite law or some bullshit like that.
Yes,
Yep,
exactly.
that is exactly it. And you're going, okay, now wait, am I voting to pay extra to the wives of combat veterans who have died in combat? Or am I voting against allowing trans kids into the bathroom of the gender they identify as? And it's that confusion that's used to get people to vote in the way that whoever wrote the initiative wants.
Yes, and yes, Darth, they often tie things together so that the thing they know you want, you'll vote for, and won't pay attention to the thing you don't want.
Right. Like, okay, yes. They'll do an initiative like, okay, yes, let's pay extra to the families of emergency responders. But in that same, further, and this is actually something they do in bills too. In that same initiative, ballot initiative, or in the bill, they'll, yes, pay extra to the wives or to the families of, we're an ad break.
Yep, we are now.
No. It's okay. It happens.
It does happen.
But yeah, they'll tuck the language in there.
Okay. I'm gonna let you two keep talking. I'll be back in a minute. I gotta take care of something. So I'm gonna mute and I will come back.
All right. So yeah,
it always fascinates me how like any of your politics and any of your laws are all specific, even when they're presented to the public. Like one thing I love is anytime our government has to like communicate a new law or a change to the people, at some point they dumb it the fuck down. They literally go to that whole explain it to me like I'm five type thing. Somewhere on the website there will be something that breaks it down in like maximum of 2-syllable words so that anybody can understand it. It's almost insulting to read it if you understand even like 10% of the actual legalese that they might have on the actual laws. But they do a pretty good job of making that available. Now, having said that, most of our population still fucking ignores it and just comes up with whatever their knee-jerk reaction is, whether it's right or wrong, and they defend that passionately. But at least I will say that our government gives us a fair shot most of the time.
Yeah, ours doesn't. We do not get a fair look at what they're trying to do to us. You know. They hide everything everywhere, you know, and in the bills themselves, it's even worse. When you get into the bills being passed in Congress, and now it used to be even worse than it is now, which is. It's weird that the way it used to work actually worked better in a lot of ways before we brought transparency to our government. Yeah, there was a lot of palms being greased and there was a lot of corruption. But there wasn't. You didn't get in trouble for dealing with the other side of the aisle because nobody saw you make that deal. You know?
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, I love the fact that like our politics, we don't elect one guy, we elect a party.
Right.
And if that party doesn't get majority, they have to form a coalition with another party. So it's not just who wins the election, it's you got to win, but you got to prove majority.
Right.
So right now we've got a coalition. We got two different parties that have to agree on shit.
Right.
And it gives an official voice to some of the opposition. But even the people who lost the election, every single time there's a cycle going through, they could hold no actual official power, but they're still able to go in and debate and have an opinion and sway whichever way any decisions that get made are being made. Like it's
there is some
parliamentary system is way got a lot more. It's slower to get things done, but it's got way more checks and balances within because you don't get one unified opinion making all the decisions.
Yeah. Agreed. And part of what's bringing all of this up is, the election in the UK that just happened, and
Labour Party.
Yep. That's something to keep an eye on. What coalitions are going to have to be formed for the Labour Party to maintain their.
They got majority. They got majority. They don't need a coalition right now.
Oh crap!
They blew past that goalpost by like what 15 or 20 seats or something. That was a landslide. They absolutely rocked it.
No excuse.
More correctly, they didn't rock it. The other people fucked it up that badly.
Well. I mean, let's take a look at who their candidates have been. It doesn't look good for them. They didn't, Rishi Sunak? It literally rained on the man. As soon as he went, okay, we'll have an election, it went, yep, I'm gonna piss on you. I mean, even the weather pissed on Rishi Sunak. I mean, and it's been 14 years of Tory rule, and it hasn't gotten any better. Has it? Like, it's not looking...
It won't. Labor Party themselves aren't going to make the difference.
No,
And
but...
we've got the same parliamentary system. When something like this happens and you've got someone who's been, your supreme leader for such a long time and another party comes in, they might not do anything, but them getting through the door rolls the fucking dice across the board so hard that no matter what happens in 4 years, they're going to be running with a blank slate and they've got a chance for some progress.
Right. Exactly. It's... Whereas that
we're kind of hoping
never
for that same thing to
happens
happen
here.
in Canada. We're really hoping. Well, that's what you get by having a bipartisan, and you guys don't. The idea of a vote in the United States is you guys essentially pick a dictator every 4 years. The laws that just recently passed that give a president full immunity from any fucking legal action just solidifies that. You guys pick a dictator, and then every 4 years, two more people stand up and decide they want to be your dictator for 4 years.
Hey. In this channel, we don't use that word. We say potato penis.
Okay, so you guys pick a new potato penis every 4 years to decide which desert that potato shall wag its penis in.
I know. I agree with you. Like, it's not our system is fundamentally flawed in that bipolar way.
It would be a good system if you had more than two candidates every time.
Right. And we do.
Technically, you do.
Well, we used to. We used to. It used to be less polarized bipartisan, and prior to the Civil War, really, there was more room to move around. Now, I don't want to go back to that because our government was still problematic, to say the least. But after the Civil War, it became this very polarized Democrats, Republicans. And originally, what the two sides meant were big centralized government and widespread decentralized government. But it's really become a culture war. It's really become also in the immediate aftermath of the Civil War. It was all about, the Democrats, how the Democrats and Republicans hated black people differently.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's what it was. That's what
one
politics.
Thing I've noticed, your third party, anytime you guys have, a Ross Perot or a Ralph Nader pop up out of the woodwork who, isn't legitimate enough to win, but is legitimate enough to get some votes. I mean, they don't play a role of giving people a third choice. They give people the option to say, I don't agree with either one of you two. Right. And hopefully erode votes away from the party that they don't want to win.
Right.
And that's about the only person and I'm gonna hate myself for saying this, but if you remember the first time Trump ran and he said either you guys are gonna let me be Mr. Cheese in your party, or I'm gonna run as an independent.
Right. He was the only one who could have done that.
Yeah, he would have won. He still would have fucking won.
He would have won, and the Republicans would still have the slimmest possibility of existing as the Republican Party.
Yeah, right now they are not. They are the Trump Party.
They are the Trump Party, and they are
so hard.
They are collapsing. What? I'm sorry, what? Nothing? What? Where?
What? Where? Who?
Who? When? Why? No, I'm sorry. I thought you had said something but...
Oh, no. Yeah, I just say they've collapsed. They're
yeah.
Once he's gone, they're going to have to build that party from grassroots.
Yes, they are. And I fear that what's going to happen is they're going to build an effective, younger, reactionary party that's going to, lean even more heavily into the exceptionally reactionary, uh, well, exceptionally reactionary aesthetic that the right seems to want.
And it'll depend on which part of that, because, and again, I'm going to kick myself for saying that, but when it comes down to economics in the United States, right now, Trump is your best candidate. And I fucking hate to admit that. But when it comes down to the economic welfare of your country, he's probably the better option.
Short term,
And
not long term.
If you take a lot of his economic policies and handle them correctly and get rid of all the rest of his rhetoric, there is some merit to what he's standing behind.
Yes.
And I'm somebody who fucking hates the man saying this.
Well, okay, so yes. And I think the merit behind what he's saying isn't his. I think a lot of that merit comes from general conservative fiscal policy, which
Now, I'm somebody who lives under the parliamentary system, so I'm okay with the words of my leader not being his own.
Yes. Right. See, I don't live in a parliamentary system, so everything Trump says must be something that Trump believes.
You're complacent with the dictator every 4 years, are you?
Complacent is an awfully loaded word there. I feel like, no, I am not complacent. I have preached change my entire life. I have done my best, but when it comes down to looking at what's going to be good for the country at the cost of being an anarchist, I have consistently voted for the interests of the less wealthy.
Well, and you kind of hit my philosophy on the head indirectly. But everybody looks at, Biden versus Trump as to what's our choice for our country.
Right.
One of the best comments I have seen lately is we need to stop thinking about our world as red and blue and start thinking about it as me and you.
Right.
I was like, that's cheesy, but I loved every second of it.
That is good.
I've always looked at our politics as not a cause of our problems, but a symptom of our problems. Trump is a fucking symptom of what is wrong with the United States right now. And whether you're a supporter or not, you cannot look around that country right now, your country right now, and say, we don't have a fucking problem right now. There's something wrong. We need a solution or we're going to start killing each other. Within the next 10 years, it's going to escalate.
Here's the thing. See, here's the real thorn in my unmentionable places about the the Democratic Party is and has been consistently more beneficial to low-income people. They want more progressive taxation, which means that the richer people pay more. They want, a way to, federalize jobs so that everybody can get a job. They're a populist party. Their messaging is difficult. The Republican Party is the exact opposite of that, but their messaging paints them as a populist party. They're a populist party in the bad way, whereas Democrats are a populist party in the good way, but the messaging is extremely screwed up. Now, I'm not saying that the Democrats are good, because there is a lot of neoliberal stinky poo-poo about them.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh, both of your parties are fucked.
oh yes.
Oh,
It
yes.
doesn't matter where you sit
Yeah.
on the left or right scale. You're looking at both sides going, this is not right. This is just not right.
Right.
Or left. This is not left.
This is not left. This is not right.
Neither of these feel correct. We need to scrap them and do something else.
And if you sit in the
It's-
middle of the road, you get run over.
Yeah, they're just becoming more extremist. Every single time you turn around, they're just pushing the left and right boundaries just that much farther. And I kind of feel that half of it, and again, going back to, the politics is a symptom.
Yeah.
Us as a population, we're so hung up on, like, I don't know, getting our way through. Nobody's accepting. Nobody wants to sit and listen to people who have an opposing view. And I've had a lot of friends that, I've got a lot of friends that are blatant, like, pieces of shit racists, but they're willing to talk about it openly, and they're willing to open their minds. And some of them have started coming towards this side of the fence.
Well, that's
because
good.
they're having a conversation that they've never had before. They're talking with somebody who's willing to talk to them and respect their opinion enough to at least listen to it.
Right.
I might not agree with it, but I'll listen to them and I'll talk back to them, and it won't be just, well, you're a piece of shit and fuck you, cancel you.
Right.
They're actually having somebody who's engaging that conversation. And especially being a truck driver, I got so many goddamn stories that, like, literally somebody has had a fucking epiphany where they're like, I had never thought about it that way, and totally changed face. But it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We got to start as a society. Fuck our politicians. Fuck our politics. I don't give a shit if you're red or blue. If your next door
right.
neighbor doesn't agree with you, instead of throwing fucking dog poop at their door and yelling, get out of here, you woke piece of shit, or get out of here, you racist piece of bigot, or whatever, we got to start talking to each other. Find out what the hell. Why do you believe what you believe? What happened in your life? Why do you believe what you believe?
Right.
And where do we sit on common ground? And once we can figure that out as people, our politics won't matter as much. But right now, we are all picking sides. And if you don't agree with my side, we push you to the other side. Like it's scary, and it's hard to sit back and blame the politicians as much as we want to. When I'm like, they're just a scapegoat to ourselves. It's kind of.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing to think about.
I
We tend to elect those that reflect what we think and feel.
yeah.
And between that and the social media algorithms, it becomes a runaway cycle where what we feel and think gets fed into that. So they know what triggers us and makes us click things, and we click on it, and then we think that even harder. And then they know that we're thinking about it harder, so they give us harder shit to click and read, and then that makes us even harder, and it's running the fuck away. And somebody needs to somehow get it through to us that this needs to stop. We are the solution. We don't need to fucking vote on who's going to fix America or Canada or the UK. We need to fucking do it. We need to be different.
Do y'all hear that out there in the audience? All y'all hear that? Hear that call to action from Lockpick, the dropper of truth and knowledge?
Where did that picture go? One of my favorite.
Wait.
Favorite pictures.
I got. If you want to know my perfect view of a utopian society, this will be subtle. It won't be that subtle.
I do want to get to
you'll get it.
Darth Dragonis's comment real quick. Oh,
Nice.
yeah, on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise, TNG. Okay, before I say my hot take about that, Darth Dragonis says, in the United States, we have finally just stopped the mentality of me against everyone. We still have to get to the us as one.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that that actually segues very nicely into your Star Trek background there. Um, we
Passionate about the philosophy of the society in Star Trek. I mean, whether you love or hate the show, you can't look at the way they've built society and be like, you know what? It's got its merits. It's got its merits. It's humanity at its finest in many ways.
and I will say that the show does a very good job of showing that through its two best captains, Janeway and Picard.
No love for the Cisco.
Cisco is not a good captain.
He's technically not a captain, so
He was very briefly. He was very briefly a captain, and then he was demoted to commander again. But I love the Cisco. Don't get me wrong. I love the Cisco. He's just not a very good captain.
The only one I haven't liked so far was Archer. I didn't like him. I didn't like it.
I
I'm
liked
glad
Archer.
they canceled that show early.
The only thing about that show that I didn't like was the theme song. But I'm very easy to please.
I mean,
Oh, Team Pike. Darth Dragonis' Team Pike. Yeah, okay, I see that. And I do have
respect for that. I got respect for that.
Yeah. I have a lot to catch up on. So
Oh man, the Upper Decks. Got to watch Upper Deck or Lower Decks.
Lower Decks.
I don't know.
I've seen
Cartoon.
the
Cartoon.
Lower Decks.
Oh my god, that was like about 2 years ago. I binge watched. I got to catch up on it, but
Yep.
oh my god, I enjoyed that way more than any
So-
human being should enjoy anything.
everything in that is canon, by the way. So that means
Yes.
that the koala is canon.
Oh hell yeah.
that makes me.
The crossover
Question
was
something.
priceless. I heard that. I still haven't seen it. We are in commercial.
Yeah.
While we're in commercial, one thing I gotta say, if you watch Deep Space Nine, especially the last like 3 seasons worth, and start looking at the actual politics going on, and when you look at when that was written and broadcast,
Oh yeah.
it is scary because that's where we are.
Oh yeah, I know.
As a whole planet, that's where we are. And it's like,
Oh,
I recently
jeez.
went back and rewatched it again, and I'm like, this is scary. I'm almost offended that they're telling me this right now. Like this, I don't know how to deal with this.
No, I know. Like, I was watching it during. I watched it several times over during the pandemic. And it just was like, okay, this is way too prophetic. It's like, shut the front door.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting too hot in here.
And I found myself lately when something goes on that's morally questionable, I will just repeat to myself, I can live with this. I can live with this. I can live with this.
I can live with this.
Delete Captain's log.
Delete Captain's log. I can live with this. Delete. And now that
We're on a commercial break. I should probably fill up a coffee quick.
we are actually
should.
just back from a commercial break, but you go ahead and fill up
Oh.
a coffee because I'm about to do my ad read for The Hidden Leaf, who provides our pre-rolls. The Hidden Leaf, 105 West Main Street, Charlottesville, Virginia, Suite 200, above the bricks between 10,000 villages and Hamiltons, where the only thing better than the weed is the customer service. Oops. Stoner dropped his, Between Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds. Oh, for your favorites. Yeah, okay. Darth Dragonis says, check the website for times. Yes, do check the website for times. um, and special events.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, Dabs and Drag was canceled and this last month, and I fear might continue to be canceled, being that it's well, drama between the drag queens.
Mhm.
Sorry, I thought I heard something outside of my headphones in the real world.
Mhm.
Just the crossover. That episode made me very happy that I have watched every episode of all Star Treks.
Nice.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. Um, let me see. How long have we been on for?
Uh,
1:45.
yeah. We got time to go through a couple of those things real quick, and
All right. Yeah, we'll try to wrap it up a little over 2 hours.
we can skip out on Wisconsin and just stick to Virginia.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. So,
Have coffee.
have coffee.
Have coffee.
We're gonna go ahead, and now that we're all back, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the laws that just went into effect in Virginia.
Yeah,
Ooh.
some of them. Yeah.
Oh God, I get to be the outsider opinion on this, don't I?
Oh yes.
Yes. So let's do that so that everybody can see.
Oh, do I gotta turn on the stream to hear it?
Oh no, it's not playing.
It's written.
It's written. Oh,
Okay.
you know what though? Good point. Let me do something real quick.
Make it bigger.
Or if you even just like,
Share my screen.
yeah, if you share the screen, I'll be able to. Yeah, of course. Now we're echoing back. Are we? Maybe we'll find out.
There we go. You guys should be able to see.
Yeah.
There we go.
Go away. Go away. Okay, so let's see what let's see what we've got going on. Irvo's law? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Family members and or guardians are now allowed to be present to provide support, decision-making help to someone who is being considered for temporary detention order. Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay. So, this is what this law is saying is that, wait a second. Is this law saying that they weren't allowed to be present before?
Yeah, that's kind of my question on that. Like, was that
Hold
not
on.
allowed in the past?
Yes. Originally, if you were being detained for your own mental health, you were detained and you were whisked off, and family members were not necessarily contacted. They were not allowed to support you. They were not allowed to help you. So it was basically state
That's Christ.
granted kidnapping. It was state funded kidnapping.
Yes, it was. Uh, yeah, it was. And that's actually, that is why we started the 1D10T talks about.
Mm-hmm.
They took Jen away without me present and I'm not family or a guardian, but the amount of recourse she had was very small, and the amount of input other people had as to whether this happened to her was also very small.
Mm-hmm.
They did call me, and I told them that, doing this to her would be a very bad idea and would be very bad for her health.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, okay, yeah, we don't really care.
Pretty much.
So, and so
Yeah.
it comes from Irvo Odieno.
Wait, yeah.
Did I say that correctly?
As far as I know.
In 2020,
Close enough.
Irvo died in law enforcement custody while being admitted to Central State Hospital during a mental health crisis after his mother said she wasn't allowed to see him while he was first under an emergency custody order before his death.
Yep.
You know, not only do people have to die for laws to get passed in this state, but people have to visibly die and then be very angry and loud about it for a long time.
Yes.
Making auto sears illegal?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Vetoed most of the gun control bills Democrats had on their wish list. He did sign some that got bipartisan support. One will ban devices known as auto sears.
Yeah.
I'm a Canadian. I got no fucking opinion on this one. Jesus Christ.
A sear is the thing that helps with your trigger reset, basically.
I'm very, very gun literate. Your laws and my laws are very, very, very different, and I know that most of the Canadian consensus when it comes down to it is very unkosher, and yeah, that's an American thing to talk about. You guys have fun with that one.
I understand.
I'm about gun control. See, the thing is most of the laws that are trying to be passed as gun control laws are sensible gun control laws. It's just that the NRA has spent a lot of money and been really loud about how crazy it is and that we're coming to take their guns away.
Mm-hmm.
I also believe that gun control means using both hands. I'm 50-50
We're
on
talking about actual firearms, not pornography here.
I swallowed and managed to get the tea.
Oh, that was not the right
one.
place to say that, Kat.
He said,
That's what he said.
Tea out of my nose, and I had to clean the computer before I could do anything else because I had tea everywhere.
Sure,
I
tea.
am so sexually threatened right now.
okay, I won't go nuts on the soundboard. I'll behave.
Right.
Oh man.
Right.
Okay.
I gotta remember, you don't have full experience with the soundboard prowess of our little group.
It's okay.
Hey, I will set up a soundboard at some point. I just haven't yet.
Get yourself a stream deck. I can walk you through it in seconds. It's so easy to do.
Okay. I'll get there. I'll get there soon. Very soon, actually, because also
I gotta send you one. I've got enough of them kicking around now.
fair enough. I need to. There's a piece of audio gear I need to get, and then I just need to do a little bit of setup. and I'll be ready to start DJing.
What audio gear are you looking at?
I think it is I think it's an 1/8 inch, not a like 35 millimeter, but I need an 1/8 inch in out for a Mac, basically for an old MacBook, to dual 1/4 inch mono outputs. Basically, I need a male 1/8 inch.
The male 1/8 inch to like a pair of RCA.
I'd rather do to a pair of female 1/4 inch.
Oh, that's a $5 plug, man.
I know. I just have to get my hands on it, and I wouldn't be surprised if I have one somewhere in the house. Because I have DJ'd from this computer before, not from the one that I'm streaming on, but from the one that is sitting in front of me. I've DJ'd from that before. I just don't remember where all the gear is. The other thing I need to do that is I need to change my audio setup with my preamps. I need to start running audio into the PreSonus 8 preamp strip.
I would recommend grabbing a program called Voice Meter as well.
Okay.
Gives you full control over the audio card and like the audio hardware. It turns your sound card on any computer. It turns it into a full-fledged mixing board. You can bring in different inputs, split them out to different outputs. You can do so much with it.
What's this called? Again?
Called Voice Meter.
Voice Meter.
I can show you a demo of it later if you want. It's a pretty horny piece of software, not gonna lie.
I will be. I don't think I need to see a demo. I think I will be looking into that very hard.
Yep. Voice Meter, spelled with 2 E's. Voice Meter. Here, I'll type it in here. And the best part is it's like donationware, so you can like pay the guy $10 or whatever it is and get a license for that one computer. I've literally bought a license for every damn computer in the house that has a sound card that I use. It is that good. It is so good. I wouldn't be able to have my DJ set up without this software right now. I've got such a clean, easy to use setup, and it's all centered around this program. It's so good. So
Okay.
good.
That will make my life a lot easier. I don't mean that I can also. It'll mean that the background music will be coming through from a different place, so it won't get as chopped up, which will take strain off of this hard drive, this processor, which will mean that the Discord won't get choppy. Hopefully.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Right?
True, very true.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out, but that should help me a lot. And when I do get around to it, when I do find the piece of hardware and get everything going, it's going to be a lot of fun. But that'll also make soundboard. That'll be when Stream Deck will start coming in handy. Will start coming really in handy.
Oh, even just with what the Stream Deck does between, like with OBS. Everything I'm doing when I'm streaming, everything you see that goes on is done on a little tiny pad of buttons. Everything.
Nice.
The only time I touch the mouse is if I need to scroll through the music list because it's too long. Like if I'm in one of the folders with like 3,000 tracks, It takes a long time to turn the knob, so I'll use the mouse, but everything else is done. Just with what it does to OBS alone, it is worth every penny.
Okay. That'll be really helpful. All right. Back to the point of what we are doing.
To the gun laws.
Yes.
So
Please see
let's
last week's suggestion about battle rappers and deploying the M&M.
Renaissance when it comes down to warfare.
Bringing it down some from there. Lucia's law. Gun law changed after Henrico Teen's murder. Another new gun law will make it a felony for gun owners to allow a child who poses a potential risk to have access to firearm. That's good. Hopefully less teachers will get shot.
Why is there a stipulation that it has to be a child who poses a risk? Why isn't it just children shouldn't have guns?
Because the NRA and the Boy Scouts of America and 4-H have convinced everybody that children as young as 10, 8 for early developers, should be allowed to hunt.
I mean, I remember being 8 years old and 10 years old, and I remember when that kid stole my marbles in the schoolyard, and if I had access to a gun, I probably would have used it. I think about it now, and that's the most irrational thing I could possibly imagine, but I mean, I was 10 years old, and if I had access to a gun, I would have been like, give me my marble back, and if he said no, he would have lost a kneecap, and that is fucking wrong.
Yes, I agree with you. And I would, and I have the same, like, I have that same sort of, like, the thing is, we here are so attached to our penises. I mean, guns. Our guns. We're so attached to our guns that we will justify giving them to children through any means necessary. And it takes a lot of work to restrict even children's access to guns here.
That's scary.
Tell me about it.
Like, on any level, that's kind of scary.
You know, I have a deep-seated fear of redneck teenagers, because they ride around in big trucks with loud music. Their brains haven't fully developed yet, and they've got a rack of guns that can shoot me from 2 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's actually a very rational fear for me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because a lot of those children get taught that people like me are groomers. And
maybe when you're out in public, you
dangerous.
should put pants on and stop wearing the fuck Trump t-shirt. That's all I'm going to suggest.
Hey, I've changed my definition of pants to trousers so that I can go pantsless on Sundays.
We call that commando.
So this brings up, we've called it commando here too. This brings up a fun joke for me because I've noticed, and I know it's too soon, but I've noticed that Tom Petty sounds like Kermit the Frog. Free,
All right, so you say that when we get to the
ballin'. I'm just free ballin'.
You had to do that. I was sipping my coffee, right? You just had to.
turn down is fair play.
Yes, I had to.
Y'all did it to me like twice now. It's fair.
What? I'm sorry, what?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, crap. I'm sorry. What did I miss now?
He's fussing about his coffee, and I said, "Turnabout is fair play. Y'all have done that to me twice now this morning. It's
I'm
fair."
not even sorry, so I'm okay to accept it when I'm the victim. I'm okay with that.
You guys have made me choke on my hits so often that,
Oh, I'll make you choke again. You just wait.
Hey, you can choke me any time of day. I'll call you Darth Vader, baby.
Oh, I'm not your father, so get that out of your head.
Hey, I never said I was Luke or Leia. Ugh. Ooh.
But if you were Leia, that would change everything.
It's kind of hard to have space buns when you have a mohawk.
What?
I said it's kind of hard for you to do space buns with the way your hair is cut.
Oh, you'd think so, but no, this mohawk. See, the thing is like, even though I have a very thin mohawk, I have very thick hair. It's very fine. Each hair is tiny, but I got a lot of them.
All right, that works.
So even this, I can split it in the middle, braid it, bring it around, and get enough of a bun on each ear.
Well, you pull that off and then we'll talk.
Daddy, I'm stuck in the garbage chute.
I had a total side tangent here. I watched that with a girlfriend I had. She had never seen the movies. And when we got to that scene and the tentacle came out, she was so excited, and that's when I found out she has a bit of a tentacle fetish. And it was the funniest shit ever. That's when I found she was like totally into anime and all this crazy stuff. And when he got dragged under by the tentacle, she was so excited. It's not even funny. She was like, "When can I have my turn?" And I'm like, "This is totally not the movie I remember, simply because you are now sitting here beside me. Like, this is supposed to be an intense, dangerous scene, and you're turning it into something totally way kinkier than it needs to be." And it was amazing. It was just great. I can't watch that scene anymore without thinking about that day. And I'm like, wow, this is, for some people, this scene means something entirely different.
Everyone has their own viewpoint on different bits of media. Yes.
Right?
I
didn't judge.
So I feel like actually though, this is a very valid point. And I do feel like somewhere else in Star Wars they make that point very differently. And it was probably one of the hardest hitting movies in the trilogy, or moments in the trilogy, when the Rancor died, when Luke kills the Rancor.
Yeah.
Right afterwards, and you see the two guys hugging, and it was like my little child heart broke, like, for everybody who's ever lost a beloved pet.
Mm-hmm.
I just, like, and then this, they raised this Rancor from a pup, and then these jerks from this one jerk from, actually same place, just down the road, comes around and, like, crushes their puppy. Like,
If you're gonna make your dog a fighting dog, you got to acknowledge that someday it's not gonna win.
that's true. That is true. But after seeing that, I just always viewed the Rancor scene a lot differently.
Yeah.
It's just, aw.
I mean, in the Boba Fett series, they did get a redemption for the Rancor.
I vaguely remember that. I vaguely remember that. But yeah, it
I'm
was.
behind. I've only
Yep.
seen like 2 episodes of The Mandalorian, and that's it.
Din Grogul.
Yeah.
Din Grogul. Jon Snow says a battlefield is no place for a pet. That is very
Exactly.
true.
Depends what your pet is.
But still,
I
that
think, I
plays
think
back to if
Daenerys
you
would argue that point.
I mean,
do. But still, if you've got a fighting pet, you have to expect it to lose at some point.
yes. Yes. Ghost lives at the end.
Mm.
All right.
Spoiler alert.
Well,
I mean,
I'm not even going to bother watching now.
someone did spoiler alerts for the Wizard of Oz movie, and the person looking at them was like, "Yeah, I'm going to give a spoiler alert for a movie that came out a long time ago and was based on a book that came out even longer ago." And they're just
right?
shaking their
Yeah,
head
but
at him.
you'd be surprised how many kids these days haven't actually seen Wizard of Oz. They might kind of know what it's about, but they haven't actually seen it. Or when they do see it, they don't understand the significance of it.
A field full of poppies.
Like it wasn't like the first Color movie, but I
Dude,
know
that
it was definitely
switch-
among the first big ones. Like when they use that as an artistic ploy.
Yeah.
That was big. That was huge. And even when I was, when I was a child, there was, color. I'm not so old that I was a child before color, but
Used to watch them silent films with a band off in the corner.
Yep.
see, the messed up thing is, yeah, kinda. Where I grew up on the farm, on the commune, we didn't watch TV. We weren't allowed TV. There were movie nights. And
Mhm.
Friday nights were movie nights down at the pit in Tachai. And those were usually on like reel to reel, they were usually like 8mm or something, and they were usually way more artistic. And sometimes they were silent movies with the stereo system, and you got the tape separately and played it in the stereo system, and it was, I mean, some very artsy stuff. Oftentimes documentaries, usually talking about other communes. I didn't generally go to those. Then movie nights on Saturday nights were up at Tupelo, and they were usually beta and VHS. And they were the good movies. But so yeah, I did occasionally watch the silent movies with the orchestra off on the side. So, there is a hint. There are 2 hints to the RRG.
You just totally told me where yeah, okay.
I told you
I feel like I'm cheating now.
I told you the names of buildings. If you look up Tachai and Tupelo, you will notice that they are communes. It's doubtful that you'll discover where the buildings actually are. But what I can say is that the commune on which I grew up on named all of its buildings after other communes. So it's not Tachai or Tupelo.
I'm just going to sit here and giggle quietly to myself.
I'm pretty good at that. That's some inverse reasoning stuff. I'm pretty.
Mhm.
I like that. I like that. We did. Okay, so here's a fun one. One of the rope manufacturing buildings, the whole industrial sort of area was named Emerald City.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It was big industrial painted in emerald green. And, Emerald City is a commune. It is a community. So it's also not Emerald City in the Land of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of deep lore hints here. So, back to the laws. Guns without serial numbers. Having or selling guns, except antiques, with serial numbers removed or altered is a Class 1 misdemeanor. It's
Now.
only a misdemeanor?
Yeah.
Class 6
Slap on the wrist.
felony for a person, firm, association, or corporation to knowingly sell, give, or distribute any pistol, shotgun, rifle, machine gun, and blah, 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 except for an antique firearm that has a serial number that has been removed, altered, changed, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, okay, I'm good with that. Hate crime law. Ooh, this is going to be...
Yep.
A new law expands Virginia's laws against hate crimes and discrimination by adding language to ban discrimination in employment and public spaces because of someone's ethnic origin.
Keep going down.
That wasn't on the books before?
Not in this particular way, apparently.
Huh. The bill also adds victims who are intentionally selected because of their ethnic origin to the categories of victims whose intentional selection for a hate crime involving assault and battery or trespass for the purpose of damaging another's property results in higher criminal penalty for the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's pretty standard stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad we finally have it. Took us dang long enough. Ooh, these are interesting. Utility shutoff restrictions. Under a new law, Virginia's public utilities can't disconnect service to a resident during an official state emergency and 30 days after, even if a customer hasn't paid bills or fees.
You know what's awesome?
And it's
Up here
also
in Canada,
temperature restriction.
No matter what, you can't cut off necessities of life. You can keep racking up the bill and send collectors and do whatever you need to do, but you cannot shut off somebody's necessities.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I like
Especially in the wintertime.
Yes.
Like in the wintertime, if they turn off your gas or your hydro, they are up for some serious charges.
Same in New York State. Wintertime is, summertime they can cut you off, but wintertime they can't.
Even in the summer, when it hits a certain temperature, they got to turn it back on.
Yeah.
Well, now they have to do that here.
Yep. Below 32 or above 92. And on Fridays, weekends, state holidays, and the day before or after a state holiday.
They're actually trying to make a movement so internet is considered a necessity.
That
So
would
they can keep billing you, but they can't actually shut it off once you've been connected.
That would be nice. Virginia's legacy admissions we can't give preferential treatment to applicants with legacy. That's nice.
Yeah.
NIL law?
You remember that thing
Oh,
we talked about briefly
name,
with
image, and
Tennessee?
likeness. Yes.
So where Tennessee State was going to bat, and they were getting all pissed off over the basketball association and everything.
Yeah.
We voted in our own version saying, yes, you can. We can use their image, and we're paying them to use their image because we want people to go to our school.
And we're leading the way in this, aren't we?
Us in Tennessee.
Us in Tennessee, we're leading the way. Oh, this is great. This is really good. This is nationally going to push other colleges to have to do the same.
I'm fully on board with that one.
Yeah. I mean, still okay. So here's the thing. Even though they can do this now, and they will be paying athletes for their name, image, and likeness, it is still a commodification of black bodies. It is still, the way professional sports have been set up, it is.
And honestly, it's not a perfect solution, but if we have a society that's willing to take black bodies and put them in a place where you're showing somebody who's on a path to become filthy rich and being a role model for a future generation. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone's going to complain when you're seeing a whole segment of ignored youth now suddenly being faced with an image of somebody who looks like them, who had the same upbringing as them, and is now an opportunity. It might be sports, but it introduces the idea that I can be part of society. I can be revered. I can be important. I might not be playing basketball or football or anything else, but I can one day be someone that people will look up to. And that for a lot of kids, that might not be something they've experienced before on any level.
Very true. Also
importantly,
you go ahead.
Also importantly, it shows that you can do this without having to be a professional whatever. You can do this at the college level. You don't have to get signed with the big team. You can be a big deal in college. You can make your money in college. And you can go on and study and do something else. You don't have to stick with that one thing. So you are able to be a role model for other
it also takes the sting of paying for college out of the college equation.
Yes.
If you get NIL payments, if you're getting NIL payments, it's more than likely going right back into the school for whatever you owe them or whatever you owe for college.
It's still free tuition. Yeah.
But it is going to help alleviate that burden later on. And so for someone who isn't going to pursue professional sports, it's still giving them, hi, Dassen, love you. Even though, for someone who may not be even quite good enough to get to the professional level, but good enough to be a deal in high school or in college, it gives them some alleviation of the debt of going to college, so that they can have a better chance of gaining some measure of success after college. It's
Well, it's important enough for people to see any sort of a role model in print somewhere.
Yes.
And I think this kind of hits the point where, you've got a section of our society namely students who are athletes, who their image has been used for marketing purposes. They are the person who is the role model for people coming
Right.
up. But there's never been a requirement for compensation. And
Right.
everywhere else, there's a requirement for compensation.
Right.
And this is
Right.
a long overdue decision, I think.
Yeah.
The NCAA has been making an insane amount of money off of these kids. You know, and these are kids. Let's not, you know, what, the oldest are like 23, 24, maybe
Maybe.
25.
But the bulk of them are between like 17 and 21.
Right. The NCAA has been making a lot of money off of these kids' NIL properties.
Mhm.
And this is gonna force the NCAA to come up off of them stacks, at least some, which is going to enrich the lives of these students
Yeah.
greatly. I do believe we're all in agreement on this one.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I had a cousin. It's sort of related, but I had
Okay.
a cousin lives in Kingston, Ontario, and one day him and his mom were Kingston's got a lot of tourist attractions. It used to be our nation's capital. There's a lot of historic buildings. There's a lot of things to do in Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
So they were kind of wandering downtown, and they went past a stall that had all those magazines, like the tourist magazines, tell you where to go, what's coming up, yada yada yada. My cousin was on the cover of it. A picture they had taken a few months previously where they were looking over the water, and he was like leaning up. Somebody had taken a photograph with a telescopic lens from probably 500 meters away. He was on the cover of that magazine. He was on the cover of a tourist magazine. Now, granted, that's not exactly huge money in a free magazine being handed out at a kiosk. But,
No,
but they were horrified at the fact that his face is now being put everywhere. And they didn't even know about it until they randomly stumbled across a kiosk that had this picture there.
Right. Right.
And I think at any point, if you're going to put somebody's face in print on your product, there needs to be money exchanged, even if it's just simply a formality of this is going to be a free magazine. Can we give you $1 to say that we contacted you?
Right.
That would be enough. She just wanted to have somebody be like legally required to tell her that her son was about to be put in public on a magazine, because they're standing there at this kiosk beside a magazine. There's all these people around going, oh my God, look, it's the guy from the, like, in that room at that moment, he was a celebrity. And they didn't even know it until they saw it. It was like, what the hell's going on right now? Like it's way too relaxed when it comes down to using somebody's image. It's like, go for it until you get caught.
Right.
And it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Agreed. And you know, we skirt the line of that here, you know, when we go out in public and do our interviews, and you know, there are a lot of people wandering around in the background that we don't ask if we can get in the video, you know. But I guess.
But there's a difference between you're in a crowd and you're trying to get someone specific and people are walking by, or you're trying to get a picture of the booth, and specifically taking a telephoto shot of somebody and putting just that person on the cover of a magazine.
Right. Like when we do our camera work, we try to avoid you know, really focusing on the background, on the people in the background, and try to focus on the people that we are specifically have asked, can we interview you? Can we videotape you?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm out getting photography, doing my photography thing, getting pictures and stuff, I'm very careful to try to miss other people's cars and other people. You know, I mean, part of it is an aesthetic choice. I want to present a very empty world. But part of it is also, these people, if I am going to take pictures of people or their cars, I generally ask them first. In fact, I ask them first. I don't generally. I ask them first. I try to make sure that it's understood that they know that this is going to be seen by the public. I think it is irresponsible to not do that. And I think that you said it was your nephew?
Oh, it's I guess second cousin. It's my cousin's
Second cousin.
child. So yeah, second cousin.
Second cousin. Your second cousin. I think your cousin and your cousin's child. I don't know the laws in Canada. No, I'm not doing the Guar line. I'm not saying that would break my PG-13. If you know, you know.
Well, they were told when because instantly she tried to get a hold of the publisher, and they just said, "Look, we just print what we're handed.
But
We've got legal immunity." And they got a hold of the people that made the actual poster.
Yeah.
And as soon as they realized they had been called out, because I guess the photographer had told the people who made the magazine that he had gotten consent from people, but at no point did they say, "Well, give us the paperwork to prove that there was consent." He just took pictures and sold them for whatever an amateur photographer would, $50 a photo, whatever. It's all nonprofit local promotion run by the mayor and his committees and shit. So I mean, it was just kind of one of those. He'd probably done this a million times and never been called out for it, because most of the people visiting aren't going to be back for a couple years.
Right.
They didn't bank on the fact that he took a picture of a local who's just out with his mom doing what they do every Sunday afternoon. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they were flat out told, They had apologies, they had offers. She was like, she refused any sort of compensation. She said, just next time, walk up to the people you photographed and say, "Hey, can we use you in the flyer?" And if they say yes, go for it. She's like, "I'm not looking to get rich. It's you guys aren't making money. You guys spent money on this. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to try to make it cost you more money, but I think you guys need to at least let people know that their photograph is now going to be displayed in public." Because she's like, if this had been a child who was under witness protection or anything else, you've now possibly shown people where he's living. Like this, it might be rare and a shot in the dark, but this is a real tangible risk that you may be posing to certain people. And if you're just blanket wildfire taking random pictures of people in public,
right,
and then putting them on a newsstand, that's got potential risk. And at least understand that. Walk up and say, "Hey, is it okay if we use your picture?" Because if you can't, and if there's a reason not to, they're going to just say, "No, please don't." But she's like, this would have all been avoided if you just simply walked up and said, "Hey, I grabbed this picture of your son. Can we use it on the cover, or can I submit this?" And she's like, "I would have been no problem. That's a great fucking photograph. I love this picture."
Yeah.
But just the fact that there's nothing protecting and saying that they even, because it's happening, and you guys have got the same laws. It happened in public.
Yeah. We have laws about expectation of privacy. And in public, you can't expect privacy. When you're in public, there's a sort of an understanding that anybody can sort of catch you in the background of any video, and there's nothing you can really do about it. But if somebody centers your image, your likeness, anything like that, and tries to monetize on that, you have recourse. The stuff around putting people in danger, that's That's an interesting one. I hadn't fully considered that, but I also have to imagine that it's not a very large cross section of either of our nations of children in witness protection. That being said, when we
It's big enough. It's big enough.
It's big enough.
It's big enough.
If it happens once, it's too often.
Yeah.
And that's part of why. That's one of the reasons why. We have several reasons why. When we are out videoing, we avoid kids. We really try to avoid getting video of kids. I think occasionally we'll have a kid in a background shot, but we really try not to get them.
Yeah, we do.
I had another thing for that, but I sort of lost my train of thought there.
Oh, that's okay.
Yo!
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
I love how the entire time we've had menstrual period instruction just up on the screen, nonchalant in the background. We're talking about everything but.
Well, the one to look at is right above it.
Blocking legal efforts to get menstrual health data. Search warrants, subpoenas, court orders, or other similar legal effects to get menstrual health data are not allowed starting in July.
Well, don't you need a warrant to get a blood sample?
This includes data stored on computers, networks, or other devices. I'm going to read this again because this is big.
It is.
Search warrants, subpoenas, and court orders or other similar legal efforts to get menstrual health data are not allowed. That is awesome.
And that goes back to my whole, as a Canadian, I gotta ask, when was that allowed? Was that allowed? That was allowed?
Yes, that was allowed. Specifically in cases of in civil cases. In civil cases where you were proving whether the girl was doing something or not, and you wanted to use her hormone imbalance to prove your case for why she did it.
Also,
or why she's lying.
Oh, that's fucked up on so many levels.
It is.
But it's also a abortion measure. This is a measure to help keep abortions safe and legal in this state.
Yep.
Because it means that people can't go looking in your stuff. Other states can't come looking in information in Virginia to see if people have had abortions in Virginia.
Yep.
Means that from here on out, Virginia can't go looking to see if you've had an abortion in Virginia or out of Virginia.
I'm not sure why your medical histories aren't private.
They are.
I've kind of always joked. I've always joked that, I'm a Canadian, right? So I actually live the freedoms the Americans claim they're fighting for.
Right.
Yeah.
But every time I turn around, there's something like this that pops up, and I'm like, wow, that I should stop saying that as a joke, because that might actually be true.
It is.
Because, we had a good example. We had one of our drivers failed his P test. They found out he was doing some drugs, so he went to some rehab, came back a couple months later, and was driving again. And about 6 months after he came back, they told him he had a drug test coming up. And the person on the phone said, make sure you're clean this time. And the fact that the dispatcher knew that he had failed the test was a breach of his human rights as a Canadian citizen. And he had the option to take our company to task. It became a big deal. So, but here you're talking about people who aren't even involved with anything from other states, other jurisdictions, and now they're saying, "Oh, you can't go snooping around in somebody's medical records." That's scary to me as a Canadian citizen. That is a scary thing. That this has to be something that needs changing.
So
Yeah.
I would have thought that was a given.
Here's how it went. It was a given. It was a given up until several years ago. When when Roe v. Wade was overturned and states started to illegalize abortion, it became it became a thing where if you weren't specifically only discussing it with your doctor in the doctor's office, then it wasn't privileged. But part of this is preemptive. Virginia is preemptively passing these laws because they see the direction it's going. You know, Virginia has been preemptively passing laws to help enshrine abortion in our state as safe and legal.
I guess that the part of this that shocks me is the fact that America, the land of the free. I'm surprised you guys don't have federal regulation that prevents the states from fucking with that sort of thing to protect your civil liberties. I guess that the term civil liberties means something entirely different to a Canadian than it does to an American.
Yep.
And I kind of feel guilty about the fact that it's only been somewhat recently that it's really becoming clear what that difference between our countries is in my mind, because I used to think I had a grasp on it, but man, this whole Twitch thing, I've been interacting with so many Americans, and when I start looking at the details of where we are protected and you guys aren't, and yet in the same breath I'll have conversations with people where they're like, "Oh, you're just a socialist country and enjoy your dictator and all this." I'm like, "You guys can say all you want, but holy crap, you guys are fighting to pass laws that bring you closer to the bar that we set years ago and we've all taken as a given."
Yeah.
It's hard because, you know, we grow up looking at the United States as the land of the free. That's what we all want that American
so
dream.
sorry.
Let's get towards it.
See,
and holy shit.
So I grew up knowing that the fact that Virginia is a commonwealth means that it's a police state. I'm literally living in a police state.
Oh, the Commonwealth to us just means you got the Queen on your money.
No. Commonwealth has a very distinct legal meaning here. And it means that I can get fucked. That was my one. I can get
the PG-18 now, aren't we?
Nope. No. Still PG-13. I get one a week.
I don't know. There's a potato penis joke earlier you made.
But that is okay because it is referring to penis in a medical context.
Yes. Medical. 100%.
Hey, medical comedy is
Daddy
still...
surgeon.
Yes, Daddy surgeon. I can get boned by the police at any point and have nothing I can do about it. Now, recently Virginia has been... That's kind of
common anywhere.
It's more common in Commonwealth states than in some of the other types of states.
It's all in how the state charter was originally written.
Yep.
Now, are you talking about like the immediate day that the cops are deciding to bone you? Or are you talking about recourse that you can take afterwards if they've overstepped their bounds?
Yes.
Both? Okay.
They can bone me, they can decide to bone me today, and then they have the right to keep boning me forever. The fact that they have boned me in the past means that I am their bottom forever if they want to make it that way.
You just described my entire college bar hopping experience.
My goodness, when you come visit, I'm gonna have so much fun.
Yes, yes, you will. On the other hand, we may be terrifying him to the point where he doesn't really want to come this far down from Canada.
That is
Oh,
true.
I'm okay with going south. I'm okay with going south. As long as there's no hurricanes, I'll be there.
You know, we very rarely actually get a hurricane here because of where we are. This little section of Virginia is in the skip. The hurricanes come up the coast, hit North
Okay.
Carolina, bounce back up, back into the ocean, and come in above us.
So you kind of get exactly what we do, where you might get weird storms as one of the arms curls around and
Right.
passes you.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
added to that, the fact that we are in the Piedmont area, the foothills, and we are several hours from the beach. We're like 4 hours from the beach, right? So when these storms come in, they're coming across land, flat land that's starting to get hilly. Those storms lose a lot of power before they get to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if
Having-
they're coming up or down the mountains at all, they lose all their power before they get to us.
Well, they fizzle out by the time they get to the top of a mountain range. They're gone.
Right.
They're just done. They're to become just a crazy thunderstorm.
Right.
Yeah. Having something like Hurricane Camille is literally, once in a century type thing.
Well, it's
Right.
like Toronto here. We can get hurricanes. I think the last major one we got was Hurricane Hazel. Decimated the place because the eye was like pretty much going over top of the Great Lakes.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between ocean water and the Great Lakes is it's picking up moisture from warm water. Like the oceans are warm, but the Great Lakes are isolated, so they're even warmer. And I guess when it went across, I think it was Michigan. It went across Lake Michigan, I think, and it picked up so much steam. It hit Detroit, Windsor, Toronto, and it kind of went across the coastline of like Lake Ontario, and it beat the fuck out of an infrastructure that's not made to handle it. But it's a stark reminder that, especially as we're meddling with our environment, that they're just one turn away when they start coming up the coast from
Yep.
being hit hard, us being hit hard. Oh yeah, DJ Susie, man, lake effect is a thing. Holy crap.
Oh, lake effect is a
thing.
whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
We actually, where I am specifically, I get river effect. I'm
Yep.
close enough to the river, to the James, that the weather is affected by the river.
Same off of the rockfish.
If you look
But-
at the Great Lakes, there's a place called Grand Bend. It's an area on the side of, I guess, Lake Huron.
Okay.
A place called Grand Bend. And if you draw an arrow between Grand Bend and Kitchener, I'm in that little area there. You will get a cone shape every winter where the snowfall is 3 times what it is outside that area because of the lake
Yep.
effect.
Yep.
Ithaca, New York. Lake. Oh gosh.
Is that the one that sounds like Winnebago?
Something like
Lake Titicaca?
No. Ithaca, but in Ithaca, New York, gets they have lake effect weather. Oddly enough, they get a lot of snow all around them, but it stays warmer in Ithaca because it's a valley. But they also have, it's wetter because there's a lot of moisture.
I used to go
coming
through
off
Ithaca
of
on the way to Syracuse.
Oh yeah. I loved Ithaca. Some of my best stories start with, so this one time in Ithaca. There's no telling where those stories will end.
This is true. I've heard a couple of those.
Somebody asked me why I went there, why I moved there originally, and I said, well, it was a combination of Dart at a map and I wanted to go shoggoth hunting. I went to upstate New York to go demon hunting.
Aren't they all supposed to be on the roof?
The demons or the shoggoths? Shoggoths
Yes,
are they're under the water
haven't heard that
usually.
song?
What?
You haven't heard the song "The Shoggoth on the Roof"?
No, because that's not where the shoggoths are.
Someone took.
I don't know about you guys, but I talked to my doctor. I got rid of my shoggoths.
Well,
Someone
I
took
mean,
music to Fiddler on the Roof, and they said it. They cahooted it.
Isn't that right? I think the theme song was something like "If I Was a Fetish Man." La 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 la.
Yeah. The actual the main one was something else. It was similar, but it wasn't that.
somehow I'm glad I had no idea this existed. I'm absolutely delighted I had no idea this existed.
It's actually they're not terrible parodies of the songs. I'm just glad that my mother wasn't alive for me to introduce them to, because I would never hear the end of it.
Sometimes
So,
that's the
moving
enjoyment of
on to
introducing
menstrual
yourself
period
to, you know.
instruction.
Oh yes, instructional time.
Local school boards can now allow menstrual period education instruction to be included in health education instruction for grades 4 through 8.
I feel like a fucking broken record, but was that not a thing before?
This
It was
is
a thing before, but it's something that they have been arguing back and forth on for decades, because some go, it's sex education, and we don't want our little girls knowing about this, and da 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 da, and we don't want the boys knowing about this.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, the boys need to know about this. It's not icky, it's not gross, it's not something that is unnatural, and you shouldn't be talking to your partner like they're a creature from another planet just because their body's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
The number of my
nobody gets up from a table and
who
an excuse at a restaurant because they had to go to the bathroom or do any other normal, natural, biological function. And it surprises me that that's a thing where they're like, we can't talk about it at schools or anything. Like, what the fuck?
Well, okay, so again,
but only girls do this thing.
This is a preemptive measure. This is a preemptive measure. They see the way things are going, and they're nipping it in the bud. We had a menstruation night, and was taught it all in 2 hours. That doesn't feel like enough time to discuss that. But I don't know.
At least it was discussed.
Well, I mean, I got taught menstruation in over years and years. I was always talked to about it as if it were completely normal and not something to be avoided talking about.
Which is how it should be approached.
Right. So when I got off the hippie farm, it was like, oh, wow, you people are really prudish about this sort of thing.
Yeah.
When I used to work at a grocery store, I was one of the few guys that was willing to stock the feminine hygiene aisle.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the few guys. There was like 2 of us in the entire store. This one girl that only worked one day a week, and me that was in there all the time. And no problem. The only problem was all the packaging is exactly the same, except there's a slightly different like shade of pink on the little wave at the bottom that tells you the exact, like, you know, whatever product it was, but it was just a shelf full of the exact same logo. That was a pain in the butt. So you were there for a while. But whenever I was stocking that aisle, I would see women walk across one end of the aisle, and then a few minutes later, walk across the other, and then a few minutes later, walk across again, and then a few minutes later. Because there was a guy in there handling the product, they didn't even want to come and buy it. because they were embarrassed because I might know that, oh my God, you're having a heavy flow month, or, oh, well, you know what, I don't even know what was going through their minds. And it was hilarious because as soon as I was done, I would take the little green cart back to the back room and I would watch on the cameras, and you could literally, it was like watching a bunch of ants attack like a dead mouse or something. They would all just run into that aisle, and suddenly for 10 minutes there'd be like 30 people picking out their items and running to the lineups, because that was all they were just running laps waiting for that fucking dude to get out of the aisle. So I mean, it's not just a guy thing, like it's a society as whole, and that's just
It really
I don't know.
is.
It's entertaining. Like I got such a kick out of that, but it was like, holy cow. Just the fact that we had the guy in the shipping receiving. If an order came in, he would open up the box, and as soon as he realized it was tampons or whatever, he would close it up and just push it to the side, because he knew that I would be in there that afternoon and I would handle it. Nobody would even like open it up and like sort it. Like, I can't touch that thing. It's like, dude, it's caught on a string. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's not that big a deal.
Right? Like, it's not like it's used already, you know?
No.
Also, even if it is, it's no different than handling a Band-Aid.
Pretty much.
So, I have to say there are probably a couple of girlfriends who stayed with me longer than was healthy for them, because I had no problem buying them feminine hygiene products, tampons, pads. You know, I'd walk in, I'd get exactly what they had asked for. I'd go check out.
You know
with
the secret?
all the confidence in the world, because I had a girlfriend that I was buying them for.
You know the secret is you buy all those, right? You go up in so you pull up with your cart. You got your pads, your tampons, a bunch of KY jelly, and a balaclava, and suddenly the tampons and the pads are not what the cashier is asking questions about.
Beautiful.
I'm going to keep that in mind for another day, because
That's free life advice from Lockpick. You're welcome.
Oh, you know what? That made me flash back on. Okay, so this is one of my, yeah, right.
Here we go.
yeah,
Where's this going? This actually did not happen in Ithaca. This did not happen in Ithaca. This happened in Gordonsville.
somehow that's worse.
Oh yeah, it is. It was late at night, probably midnight. I was up I had walked up to the 7-Eleven from our house to get coffee and donuts for myself and my wife. And I went in. As I went in, I was going in behind these couple of guys. I mean, they cut an image, let me tell you. They were the kind of guys who have polo shirts and bright pastel plaid shorts and sandals, and wear their sunglasses on the backs of their necks, and have a frat tattoo somewhere that you probably don't want to look. And
Speak for yourself.
they don't. I'm not into frat boys. They don't hygiene. They throw cologne on it, and they just don't hygiene. The Discord window, is it frozen? Huh. Hold on.
The little one that shows us all.
Okay, there we go. Is that better?
I think so.
Okay, so so I walk in behind these guys, two of them. I go grab coffee, donuts. You know, I'm in a haze because we'd been smoking all day. You know, whatever. And I get in line behind one of them, and he is just yelling at the poor girl behind the counter, just reading her the riot act. Is this all you got? You don't have anything else? Nothing else. What am I supposed to do with these? And she goes, sir, I'm sorry. If you don't see it out there, we don't have anything, No, I don't have anything else back here. These are the only ones you've got. You don't have anything. Like, look, what am I supposed to do with magnums? And I said, before I could stop myself, I said, buy a bag of rubber bands. And his buddy from across the 7-Eleven goes, saran wrap and rubber bands, we're gonna make this happen. And I thought, oh my God, what Rohypnol fueled UVA grape culture have I just stumbled into? Like, oh geez.
I would have just been like, rubber gloves are on aisle 3. Go cut the pinkies off and use them instead.
Oh, that would have been great. So one dude storms out humiliated. His friend leaves chuckling. I get up to the counter and I look at the poor girl and I go, even if I didn't need magnums, I'd still lie about it.
You can always just stick a fist in there and pretend.
Right?
Ooh.
Just putting that out there.
Yes.
So
How far do we have till a commercial break? Because I really need to go fill up a coffee here.
Well, go fill up your coffee and then leave Trevor scroll because
Yeah, start
I need to run
scrolling.
away. I need to run away in a minute. Scroll down to the roadkill so that we're ready when Lockpick gets back.
where do we need to go?
Scroll down to roadkill.
Okay.
Wait. Scroll down to roadkill.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll be back.
Get your coffee and come
I'm
back.
gonna need coffee to handle this one.
There you go.
Okay, this is what we're going out on when
This is what we're going out on.
when he gets back.
I mean, I thoroughly appreciate the cat declawing, how that's now illegal too.
Oh, good.
Unless there is a specific medical reason, like your cat got their foot mangled and they need to take the claw off to save the rest of the foot.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's fair. But I assume that's always, medical intervention for the safety of the creature is always a good thing.
Yes, and that's been specifically worded in so that they can do the medical intervention. But otherwise, if you don't want your couch shredded, either buy the corner protectors or don't get a cat.
Right. Essentially, yep.
No. Yeah, while we're waiting.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh no.
What?
Do you remember that sound clip that went viral a long time ago?
Potentially. The problem is there have been several that have gone viral.
Joe at the Stop and Go.
Think so?
Oh, Joe! I don't want to sound go.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that one.
And my question is, who gets the deer? Me or the dog?
Yeah. Basically, that's where that comes down to.
Okay.
Let's see. Something that we scrolled over because we're waiting on Lockpick. Blocking casino votes. This doesn't mean that we're blocking the availability of them. It means that if your city has applied too many times, you have to wait for 3 years before you can do that again. Because Richmond voted and failed in so many attempts.
Wow. That's
Um,
weird. Wow.
yeah. But we also have the law about cake pops, which is awesome for um, small time vendors.
Okay.
Um, they've loosened things up so that if you are making certain specific foods at home,
Mm-hmm.
you can now sell them online, and you can take them to fairs and things that go for a couple of days at a time, like the county fair, and sell them, or the state fair and sell them, as
Okay.
long as it's no more than 14 consecutive days. So if you've got baked goods and things that you're selling, you don't have to have a truck, and you don't have to just go to the farmer's market. Your options have expanded.
All right. That's good news for us here.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think pickles might be included in that.
Uh,
But
I'm sure they
it's certain
are.
foods and things. You have to look it up and see foods and things. Okay,
So,
lockpick is back.
okay. Now it may look like the window is gonna freeze, but it won't, because I just have to click over on this so that I can read it. So,
Yeah.
OBS. It freezes on OBS.
yeah.
If you take, yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yep. If it's because I'm clicking off of Discord.
There's a way to change that, but I don't remember what it is, and it's not worth worrying about. We'll deal with that later.
Right?
Yep.
So, okay, here's the law. Roadkill ownership. A bill to change who can claim a deer, bear, turkey, or elk that appears to have been killed in a motor vehicle collision sailed out of the Virginia General Assembly, and was signed by Youngkin. The legislation from Tony Wilt.
Young kin.
Oh, I know. There's so much about
Oh.
him that a Republican
I
from
don't want to hear about your stories about young kin. Okay, just leave them out of the stream.
Yeah. That's
right,
fine.
right. We don't do that. Tony Wilt, Republican from Harrisonburg, referred to as the Roadkill Bill, and we have touched on this before, will allow any person to claim such an animal for eating or as a trophy at any time of the year, starting on July 1st. The proposal will change the current law, allowing only those who hit the animal with their vehicle from being able to claim the dead animal during hunting season.
Yep.
I got a story about that one.
I do too, actually.
It's now legal year round.
Except the person driving the vehicle cannot claim it.
Well,
Well, they can claim it now. But
now they can.
Yeah.
And they can do it year round.
I found out years ago.
Although
we used to go parking. We'd be driving around. I had an old Dodge Spirit, basically a glorified K car, and we used to go and park it in obscure places and hotbox the fuck out of it. I mean, the local police knew they knew if my car was there, because I had this car went through the ringers. On the inside of it, I had replaced the interior dome light with 4 LEDs that pointed at a 2-inch disco ball. I can probably go grab one of them. So when I turned it on, it would spin, and these LEDs would turn it into a disco. I had Burger King had a whole bunch of Muppets toys that were around at the time, like a Gonzo where you pulled the string and he was sitting in a little. These were all over the place. So the inside of my fucking car was a circus, and on the outside, we had bought some glow in the dark paint at the dollar store. I let my girlfriend's fucking nephew paint anything he wanted to on my car. So my car had these glow in the dark things all over the outside. It was unique. It was very visible, right? So we used to drive all over the place and smoke weed. Just hotbox. The most flack we ever got from the cops was one of them who said, "My jurisdiction ends at the river here, so next time park on the other side of the bridge and I don't have to come and deal with you." That's small town Ontario. We got a whole different view of the world. So, I mean, that was the thing. Well, the one day we were driving through, there's a lighthouse along the Grand River that used to have a little dirt road that went to it. Well, they started developing. Right now, it's this whole community, and the lighthouse is like in a park in the middle of this community. It's like everyone knows about it. But at the time, you had to know where it was and like drive through the forest on this dirt road. When they first started developing that neighborhood, there was a road called Deer Ridge Road, and one of the crescents was called Deer Ridge Crescent. And we were driving because if you went down Deer Ridge Crescent, you could get to the old dirt road to get to the lighthouse and smoke your weed. And as I'm cruising along, we hit a deer. Fucking ran out of nowhere. So I had to be the guy who made the phone call from Deer Ridge Road at Deer Ridge Crescent to say, I just hit a deer. Can you come give me a sticker for my car that says the accident has been investigated, right? Even the cop was laughing at us because we were high as fuck, standing at the side of the road, stumbling around, right? Like, hey man, I just hit a deer. I couldn't even keep a straight face. Every time he said it happened at Deer Ridge Road and Deer Ridge Crescent, they hit a deer. I started fucking howling. This was way too funny for me.
I mean,
but he explained to me, he's like, do you want to keep the deer? And I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do with the deer? And he's like, well, this is a small deer. And just so you know, Canadian citizens get one in their lifetime. If you hit a deer, you can keep it, but you only get to keep one. And I'm like, why is there a limit on that? How many people are trashing their cars? How many people are fucking up their cars to try and get deers? And so he said, up north, guys started putting like reinforced moose bars basically on the front of their pickup trucks. They'd take the ones off a semi-transport truck and bolt it onto the front of their pickup truck and put spikes on it and drive down the country roads. Because if you drive for 2 days straight, you're going to have 4 or 5 deer. And they're like, they were doing this to circumvent all the hunting laws. You don't have to get a hunting license. You don't have to get anything, but you can literally catch multiple deer in a season just by driving to work and back with one of these on the front of your pickup truck and not stopping when one of them runs out onto the road. So these guys would go out and look for an area where there was a bunch of deer and just keep speeding back and forth that area, and they'd have a whole pickup truck full of deer. So like, we've put a quote on that: you can only legally keep one in your lifetime, so that way people will go get a hunting license. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. So that would make sense why only those who hit hit it with their
oh my god. But
yeah, it prevents them from being able to claim the dead animal. That's probably exactly why. They probably had a bunch of hillbillies out there with fucking armored vehicles mowing down deer so they didn't have to pay for their hunting license and they could save on ammo.
Although in Virginia, I could see Big Oil lobbying against big ammo for that.
Oh yeah.
Like,
we need petroleum-based bullets or we are not going to accept this.
Right? Exactly. No, it occurs to me that I've broken that law then, because not long after I'd moved back from Texas on one of my long sojourns, I was driving to work on 231, and a deer jumped, I guess, on top of my hood. I didn't see what happened. There wasn't a deer in the road, and then my hood was in my face.
Yep.
So I pulled over. I got
different cars.
Huh? Yes, the deer do hunt cars. I pulled over and waited. This was before cell phones were really widespread. So I didn't have one. And I waited for about 5, maybe 10 minutes before the requisite pickup truck full of rednecks pulled up and go, "You want that?" I was like, well, what am I going to carry it in? Any of y'all got a cell phone? Yup. You want us to call the cops for you? Yep, I do. All right. The 2 of them were chucking the deer in the back of the truck. Third is calling the cops saying, "Yeah, hit a deer." I don't think they said
another one.
I don't think they said a real word the entire conversation. I think it was, I don't think any of the words were actual, what we would consider a word unit. It was all... But, you know, around here, if you hit a deer and you don't claim it and you don't have a cell phone, you'll have somebody to help you in about 5 minutes.
Only if they get some of the burgers.
Right, right. Only if you're willing to come up off that deer meat. Now, if I'd have had a way to keep that deer, I'd have kept that deer.
A freezer.
Yeah, nah. Not big enough. Didn't have a big enough freezer. Well, okay, so we've been going for over 3 hours now. So, what I thought was going to be a shorter episode certainly isn't.
Yeah, you asked me to join. You knew what was coming.
I knew what was coming.
It was entertaining.
Like a job without my glasses on, I didn't see it coming. Okay, now I've broken my PG-13. Which means it's time for us to sign off.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lockpick, for joining us. We
No
appreciate
problem.
it. Much love. Much love. Thank you, Darth Dragonis, in the chat. Thank you also, DJ Susie. And was there somebody else?
Anybody's out there not following DJ Susie, you gotta follow.
Yeah.
She's actually doing a live gig tonight.
Oh,
7:00 Eastern time.
nice.
You're gonna want to check that out.
Nice.
We had Dassin at one point. We
Oh,
had her.
yes,
We had,
Dassin. Thank you, Dassin. Much love to you for showing up. Thank you, everybody. And now is the time on the show where I say, and as they say around here, 2 up, 2 down, VA, double deuces. We're out, y'all. Oh, don't forget to stick around for the raid.